Good morning, Level 6. Today we are going to start another chapter from our Oxford Progressive English textbook. Okay, so I want all my Level 6 students to take out your textbooks, open page 211, Unit 9, Lesson 3 called The Sport of Curling. Welcome to our lecture number 7. Okay. To begin this lesson, first I want you all to have a quick look at how the sport is played. It's really fun game. Okay, so there is a quick review, 2-minute review for how to play this game. Okay, so students, listen to it and watch it carefully. While doing that, I want all my students to please use hands free for the extra clarity of the voice. After that, we'll come to listen and later on we'll finish with the notes. Okay, let's begin.
Curling, the game with the ice, and the rocks, and the sweeping, and the yelling. Each game starts with a handshake and a coin flip to determine who goes first. Then, two teams of 4 people take turns throwing 44-pound stones down a sheet of ice. The target? A 12-foot house that looks like a bullseye, just under 150 feet away. Each team throws 8 rocks, and the team closest to the center after all the rocks are thrown will score the points. This process is repeated for 6 to 10 rounds, called ends, until one team is victorious. It's just that simple. Or is it? Each team has a captain called the skip. Like a general on the battlefield, the skip calls the shots that will best ensure victory. Stones are delivered with a predetermined rotation, so they actually curl as they travel down the ice. Of course, this is why the sport is called curling. Over the course of each end, players can throw guards to block the house, draws to try to score, or takeouts to remove the opponent's stones. The skips then spend the rest of the time yelling like a crazy person. What they're actually doing is emphatically advising their players to brush the ice in front of the stone. Brushing can drastically affect the speed and direction of the shot. After each team throws its 8 shots, the team closest to the center of the house will score. Or, if they have more than 1 rock closer than the opposition, they count as well. Once all the ends have been played, whoever has the most points wins. Aside from a few dozen other minor details, that's all there is to it. Find a curling facility near you and get started.
So that is how this game is played. Now let's see you at the beginning of the lesson. Let's begin. So what is the sport of? There is a floor. The floor is very slippery, made up of ice or some other materials also. Now they have made it of other materials also. The very slippery and smooth kind of flooring is there. What do we call that? We call them the ice ridges, okay, or the ice flooring. You can see it in the picture. And they use special broomsticks. Okay, these broomsticks some of the times they are like hockey, and sometimes they are like literally like broom with the bristles made from the horse hair. Okay, and they have these special stones. You can see over here the stones are made attached with a handle, and they will have to like these are the curling stones. You can see with the handle, and this is the curling broom. Okay, so yeah, so what do? They have to glide these over the surface of ice, slip it towards the goal. Okay, and the place where they make goal, like in football and soccer, we make goal when we throw ball towards the net, right? So here what happens, instead of net goal, they have drawn houses on the ice. Houses are like that. Okay, they will have to slip this ball into the house to make a goal and win the scores and win the game. Okay, and each team is having 4 players, like that teams together play, and there is the opponent's team also standing in front of the house. Let's see here, students, you can see it in the picture, the curling stones and the players and the house with the rings. Okay, now let's come to paragraph 1. First, let's quickly go through this one. Have you ever heard of the sport curling, pronounced curling? Look up curl in the dictionary. We all know, students, what is curl, C-U-R-L. Girls are always making hair curly, right? It's that curl. Similar way, how it is curled, the stone is thrown in a very, rotatory motion. That motion is called curling, huh? So let's quickly go through this one. What does curling mean in the context of hair and hairstyles? Now read about the sport of curling. As we discussed, huh? So now come to this one. Curling is played on the ice by teams of 4. Okay. One player holds a special stone fitted with a handle which he delivers across the ice, aiming at the house, which are circles drawn on the ice. Points are given according to where the stone stops on the circles. The other players in the team brush the ice in front of the stone to help it towards the house. They use either a broom made of straw or a brush made of horsehair. The players on the opposite side aim to knock their opponent's stones out of the circles. So here, students, what is happening? What do? They glide these curling stones across the icy field, across these ridges. Okay, so they will have to slide these stones across all over across these houses, and over there what do they have to do? There will be players helping them, and the players, other team players, will be helping. When the stone will be gliding, what will they be doing? They'll brushing across the way to give it more speed and correct its direction towards the goal, right? And what else? And there will be opponent's team also, and what the opponent's team will do? Opponent's team can, with their throw, by sliding their curling stone towards the other opponent's teams against their rivals, what can they do? They can remove the stones from the house by pushing theirs in that. So that is how the opponents are able to knock off the other team's goals. Okay, now students, will come to our second paragraph. Where is it played? It is usually played on natural outdoor ice, but it can be played on man-made ice rinks. These are the ice flooring. You can see these are the man-made ice rinks, huh? Frozen rivers and lakes make excellent sheets of curling ice for the game. The curling sheet is 138 inches long and 14 inches wide and carefully prepared. The home of curling is Scotland, but it is now played in many different countries all over the world, such as the Scandinavian countries. Scandinavian, students, underline Scandinavian means Northern European countries. It's a union of some countries, 6 to 7 Northern European countries. Okay, what do we call them? Scandinavian countries. Okay, Austria, New Zealand, America, and even in China and Japan. What is the history of curling? The Scots in Scotland want to believe that curling started in their country. Archaeologists have found a curling stone with the date 1511 inscribed on it. What is inscribed? Inscribed means engraved on it, carved on it. Okay, carved means they dig with special sharp tools and write like by digging inside. We call it as inscribed or carving. Okay, and the Scots say that this proves that curling was played in Scotland in the 16th century. It is likely, however, that the game was played across the North Sea in Flanders, now in part of Belgium, before then, but whichever country invented it, it was the Scots who made the rules and improved the game. Okay, the origins of curling. Okay, now we will see that again. See in the picture again. Here you can have a look how it was originated in the Olympic history. It is now an international Olympic sport. Okay, it has taken lots of fame. The game started in Canada in the 19th century when Scottish regiments were stationed in Quebec. In winter, the lakes and rivers froze in the low temperatures as they did in Scotland, but Canada did not have Scotland's natural granite stones and rocks. To overcome this, the Scots filed down the cannonballs to make stones. Okay, Canadians still play with irons rather than stones for the next 100 years. Now Canada now has over 3,000 curling clubs. Okay, now students, underline file down, and regiment means army military troops. Okay, was stationed in Quebec. Stationed means they had to stay, they had some given duties and tasks to perform. Quebec, province of Canada. In winter, the lakes and rivers froze, that we know. Their lakes and rivers froze over there, so it becomes the perfect ice rinks for them to play the sport. As they did in Scotland, but Canada did not have Scotland's natural granite. Scotland is having lots of natural granite stones. It's a kind of a rock, okay? To overcome this, the Scots filed down the cannonballs. These are the cannonballs. These were used in ancient times for war purposes. Okay, cannons were filled with cannonballs, and they used to throw cannonball on the opponent country to damage them. So, students, underline filed down. You all know what filed down means. You see, this is the curling stone. They have to file it a little bit from top and bottom to make it slightly disshaped and slippery, right? File down means to cause wear on something by rubbing against or filing it, reducing its size. For example, how do we use it in our sentences? I filed down my fingernails before the party. We all file down our nails, right? So just like that, they do file other objects also, right? Okay, now let's come to next. The cannonballs to make stones. Canadians still played with irons rather than stones for the next 100 years. Now Canada now has over 3,000 curling clubs. Okay. Are there any specialist terms connected with the sport? Yes, all kinds of odd sounding words. Odd means weird kind of, right? Strange. Huh? A curling competition is called a bonspiel. What do we call it? Bonspiel. Okay, which means good game in German. And before play starts, a fine spray of water called a pebble is sprayed over the ice. A fine spray of water, what do we call that fine spray? Pebble. Okay, sprayed on the ice to make the ice further slippery. Okay, it will be easier for the players. You can see in the picture, they'll have to slip this curling stone, this broom, and the players itself, they wear the special shoes to slip over the surface, to glide it. Okay, which means good game in German. Okay, and before play starts, a fine spray of water called a pebble is sprayed over the ice. When a player delivers the stone, his feet are placed in footholds called hacks. See, these are the footholds, the hacks. You can see it in the picture. Okay, students, I hope the lesson is very clear to you. Now we are going to see what notes we have. All of you, please take out your English notebooks and take out your writing stuff. Let's start writing. Students, you will give the heading unit line lesson 3, the sport of curling. Like that you will begin. Write question number 1 word meanings. I will read first. Okay, granite. What the granite means? A hard stone. Okay. Number 2, ice rink and ice course or ice flooring. Okay. Number 3, regiments. A body of troops under the command of a colonel. Number 4, cannonballs. Balls fired from cannon. Number 5, cannon. A huge gun mounted on wheels. Okay. Now students, all of you, once you finish, now remember one more thing. You can always pause my video, complete the work. Once you finish, then play it back, and then you can see the next one. Okay. Now, next work we have is from our chapter portion, reading for detail. Question number 2 is reading for detail. Give the heading. It is given on your books on page 212. Okay. Question number 1. What does a player do with the stone in curling? Answer number 1. What do they do with the stone? They'll have to slide it and slip it towards the houses to make goals, right, students? Let's start writing the answer. The players hold a special stone fitted with a handle which he delivers across the ice, aiming at the houses which are circled down on the ice. Okay, question number 2. What is needed for a game of curling? Answer. What is needed, students? Yes, a special stone, there is a broom and ice flooring or the ice rink. Okay, so now students, start writing. Answer number 2, a special stone, brooms and ice rink. Okay, these are the must-haves for this sport. Then there are some extra materials also, but the basic one, the important ones are these. Okay, now question number 3. Why do the Scots think that curling began in their country? Okay, let's see the answer. Archaeologists have found a special stone with the date 1511 inscribed on it, and the Scots says that this proves that curling was played in Scotland in the 16th century. Scots invented it and made the rules and improved the game. Okay. Question number 4. How did the Scottish soldiers play the game without granite stones? Answer. They do not have granite stones. What do they do? How did the Scottish soldiers play the game without granite stones? Now students, this question might be a little bit tricky for you. I will tell you why. The reason is we studied in previous paragraph. I'll show you this paragraph. Okay. You remember the question, students? The question said how did the Scottish soldiers play the game without granite stones? In the lesson, what did we study? And this game was invented in Scotland, which means Scotland should have this curling stones, right, to play the game. So the question is asking Scottish soldiers play the game without granite stones. Now focus on this one, okay? I will tell you why. I will explain it to you. 19th century, when Scottish regiments were stationed in Quebec, so students, what is happening? Read it again. The game started in Canada in the 19th century. Now they're talking about the Scottish regiments in Canada where they stayed where? In Quebec. Okay, so basically these Scottish regiments, Scottish army men were not in Scotland. Where they were? They were in Canada, stationed in Quebec. Okay, so we will read. The problem with these Scottish regiments was that since Canada is not having these granite stones, okay, or the curling stones, so over there how they played, to overcome this, the Scots filed down the cannonballs. They took these cannonballs to make stones. Okay, from these cannonballs they made stones. Okay, and after making these stones, what else they did? Canadians still played with irons rather than stones. This thing is naturally made from iron. Okay, I mean these curling stones are naturally made from stone filed down into this shape. But they played this thing with iron. Okay, I think stone will be heavier than that, but iron is less heavy as compared to stone, right? So they played with this thing. Who? The Scottish regiments who were in Canada. Understood, girls? Students? Now I will come to that question again to clear confusion, okay? How did the Scottish soldiers play the game without granite stones? Now did you understand? Because Scotland itself is having lots of facilities related to this game, right? So they are talking about those, they were not in Scotland. In which country they were? They were in Canada, okay? That is how it clears away the confusion, because every year the students are confused with this question. Okay, so let's start writing the answer. It will be Canada did not have Scotland's natural granite stone and rocks. To overcome this, the Scots filed down the cannonballs to make stones. Cannonballs were the iron balls. Okay, so in our syllabus we have only 4 questions. Okay, whatever the numbering is, pay attention to the question and the answer. Ignore the numbering, okay, because numbering is not same as that in the book. Copy the questions from my file, okay, and the answers are written. Compare you can write your answers by yourself and then recheck it with me. Question number 2 you can see, question number 3 you can see, and question number 4 you can also see, and I explained you the reason why it's like that. Okay, so now there we have question number 3. Students, you can solve it on your books. In book it is on page 213. No need to write this one in your notebooks. Okay, solve it on books. Question number 3 says match the sport to the appropriate equipment. Appropriate means the equipment that is used in that sport, in that game. Okay, the names are written with their equipments. So number 1 we will begin with. Number 1 says bat. First we will read all the options. Okay, how will we know that bat is used in which sport? Let's see. Number 1 cricket. We have so many options. In the book says number 1 swimming, surfing, chess, tennis, rowing, skiing, archery, cycling, cricket, basketball, skating, polo, athletics. So students, this bat should go with cricket. Either you put number here with the cricket, you can put number 1, or you can write it in front of bat, you can write it with cricket, or you can match the lines or put the numbering, it's up to you. Number 2 is pony. So students, number 2 should be polo. Okay, pony is that horse that is used in polo. Okay, that mini version of horses. Okay, so polo is written second last in the book. With that you can put number 2, or you can write it like this. Number 3 is hoop, where this hoop is used in basketball. These hoops are used. Okay, number 4 boat to stand on, that is for surfing. Number 5 boat is used for rowing. Number 6 racket, tennis. Number 7 board to place on the table, chess. Number 8 bow, archery. Okay, that is how these appropriate equipments are used in this sport. Okay, I hope you understood this lesson very well. I will do a quick review, a quick summary. Okay, this is the sport of curling, a very good sport played in European nations where the climate is very cold, and in winters the lakes and the ponds and rivers freeze into icy sheets. Okay, the safe icy sheets where they are safe, they're having safe thickness to stand upon and play game. Okay, sometimes the ice sheets are very thin, over there it becomes very dangerous. At such places it cannot be played, it can only be played at very places having some safe thickness. Okay, the thickness should be of the required size that is mentioned in the lesson, how many inches. Okay, after that this sport is played with the curling stones. Okay, with the curling brooms, and they have special shoes which we call them the shoe hacks. Okay, and each team is having four players, and they have special goal spot which we call them the houses. They will have to slide these curling stones into the houses to get a goal, and whereas the opponent's team will be blocking this curling stone from getting into the house to not to let them win, right? So that is how the sport is played. Okay, so this game was basically invented, and the game and the rules, everything was improved by Scottish people, okay, in Scotland. And why Scotland think that this game was invented in their country? Why? Because archaeologists in that country found a curling stone on it what was written 1511, and by that time it was already 16th century. So that is why they think they are the record holders of this game. They were the ancient players. Okay, so it started throughout the world, throughout the globe, and so many countries are playing. So many Western European nations, which are Northern European nations, what do we call them? We call them the Scandinavian nations. Okay, this is the quick summary of the lesson, and thanks for listening. Take care, stay safe, and maintain the safe distancing. See you in the next lecture. Take care.